Welcome to another video from your daily database insight, and we're going to talk about collation. Now, collation in SQL Server provides the set of rules for sorting your character datasets and for case and accent sensitivity properties for your data. Now, whether you're installing a new SQL Server instance or restoring a database backup or connecting from one SQL Server to another client database, it is important to understand your collation or the locale requirements. In that way, you can easily know how to interact with your data. Now, whenever you install SQL Server, you specify a collation level or a collation. And if you go back to the videos showing the collation, the installation, you'll see that there was a collation that we specified, during the installation period. Now, to check what collation that we have on this particular SQL Server installation, we can run this script here, which looks for the server property collation. And if we check it, it's going to tell us here that we have the SQL Latin 1 general code page 1 case insensitive accent sensitive collation. So this is how all the characters on this database, on this SQL Server instance, are gonna be sorted out, and of course the different case and accent sensitivity of properties of that data. Now remember that we have a collation level. So we have a server level collation, then a database level collation, a column level collation, and then an expression level collation. On a server level collation, once you have installed your database or your SQL Server instance, it's gonna require you to specify a collation. If you don't change anything going forward, then everything is gonna use the collation that you specified during installation. If for some weird reason you decide that, hey, you didn't install the correct collation, there are only two ways to do it. The first is probably the cleanest. The second is really not the cleanest, but it's also another way to do it. Like for instance, if you want to change a collation on your server level collation, then I think one of the other ways is going to be, you're going to need to make sure you have all the information or scripts needed to recreate your user databases, and you're going to export all your data using a specific tool that you need, and then you'll drop all the user databases and you will rebuild the master database specifying the new collation. So now the way to rebuild the master database specifying the new collation is what we have here on the screen. So let's say you're ready to change this collation on the instance level or the server level. Then you'll go to your setup folder where you have your binary files for installation. You'll run it with those options: rebuild the database, the instance name, you'll specify the instance name, you'll specify the sysadmin account, and then you'll provide the password, and then you'll specify the collation name that you need. That is one way. The other way would be to just probably uninstall the SQL Server instance and then just reinstall it with the correct collation, which I think is much more cleaner because you won't have to do all this stuff, exporting and doing all that good stuff. But all in all, it means you're gonna have to start from fresh if you have to change collation on the server level. On the database level, and of course once you do the reinstallation and fix the collation issue, you have to re-import your database or your data and stuff like that, which is standard. If you have to change collation on the server level, there is an aspect of starting afresh, and that means your database backups and everything that you had configured on your SQL Server instance are going to be reconfigured after that process is complete. On the database level, It's pretty much easy. You can execute a script. First of all, to check the collation on your database level, you can run this script. Select name, collation name from sys databases. If I run this, it's going to give me the different databases with the specific collation. But if I just wanted to focus on PeopleSoft database, then I can run the script here, and it's going to show me here that I am currently using this collation, which shows that it is case insensitive and accent sensitive. So case insensitive means that uppercase characters and lowercase characters are treated as the same. Accent sensitive means that a character with an accent and a character without are definitely different. Now if you look at this new collation that we want to define on this database, it shows here that it is case sensitive. Case sensitive in this case means that uppercase and lowercase are going to be treated differently. So you're going to have some databases that require you to have case sensitive collation, and that's just one of the requirements within that particular application. So the application is going to need a case sensitive collation for whatever reason. To really change, like PeopleSoft needs a case sensitive collation. I think it's a different type of collation. It's not this general default case sensitive. It's a different one, but it's easy to just update it like this. So if you execute that, it's going to go in and update the collation. And remember, we had this as the collation, so we will check what that collation is, and it should be case sensitive. We ran into an error saying that the database could not be exclusively locked to perform the operation. Yeah, so this means that we need to make sure that we don't have any connections on the PeopleSoft database. So I'm just gonna check the connections. I'll run the SP, and I can see here I have this connection and I have this connection, and so I'm gonna kill those two connections. Let's see, that's 74 and 82. Killing those, and then let me run this again. And now I was able to set my collation. So if I check it now, I'm going to tell you that it has the case sensitive collation. So the other level of collation is going to be the column level collation. Column level collation could be defined in two different ways. The first would be when you're creating a table, you define the collation for that specific column. So like for instance, I can create a table here. And I can define ID as integer, and then I'll collate that column. Well, hold on. I'll collate that column to be that collation. Then I can have full name. Actually, full name actually I don't need to collect this one, so I'll get this one out of the collation. So when I do this, so I'll create that table. Let's create it, and then I can show you here the collation on that column. So if I run this, you can see that the collation name for that specific column is that. Now I can change that collation name. So like I said, there are two ways to do it. When you're creating the table name, you can do it, or you can alter the table name and specify a different collation name. So what I'll do is I'll alter this table. Alter table that, and then I'll alter the column, full name, and this time instead of making it case insensitive, I'll make it case sensitive. So if I run this here, alter table, alter column, yeah. So if I run this here, successful. Now if we check it, it's gonna be case sensitive. There you go. So that is on your column level collation. Finally, we have the expression level collation. Again, from an expression level, I will give you an expression here. 1 second. Let me grab the expression level collation. And this could be multiple. This could be expressed in different ways. Expression level. I'll go to the AdventureWorks and just look for a view that we can use for this specific expression level. Actually, I need to script the view. That's how you script a view, by the way. Or that's how you script any object. You right click it and script to create it. So for this view here, you can see this section. This is an expression right here. This expression that says P, which is an alias name for person, and EA, which is an alias name for email address. So if we collate this expression here and say collate, well, yeah, collate, and then I specify a collation, let's say case sensitive. At that point, if this one was also case sensitive, then it would need me to specify this as case sensitive. In that way, when I run this query, it should work. But if it was not, then you run into an issue like this. And that's why it is important to understand the locale of your characters to be able to tell what the sorting rules, the accent, and the case sensitivity properties are. But if I switch it back to case insensitive and try to run it, then that is invalid. Let me see something that is gonna be valid for an expression. Email address is not gonna be an integer, so let's use that. No, not there. It's gonna be type ID. All these are IDs. All right, let me come back to Well, another expression would be this. Another expression would be just on this query here. Where is it? This full name. All right. So let's say I want to run select star from disregard that from this. Then we have full name there. Then I say ID comma. Then I say full name, or then I say full name. Then I concatenate this one. So I want to concatenate this, which I want to collate to that, or I want to concatenate it with full name, which I want to collate from let me get rid of that table from there. Okay, so if I run this, it is going to be an expression level because I have concatenated the full name with the character string full name colon, and then the subsequent column here is being collated to join to that character string. So yeah, that would be an example of a collation on an expression level. Again, you can play with this expression level however much you want, but to just give specific context is I'm gonna insert some data over there. Insert into that. Select one Mike Otieno. So if I insert that record there, and then now I come back and run that collation level in the expression, then you can see that full name is equals to Mike Otieno. There you have it. If you have if you know anybody else who has questions regarding or would like to learn more about collation, you must show them this video. And if you have any more questions about collation, don't hesitate to drop a comment on the chat section, and I'll be able to reach out back and point you in the right direction. Thank you and have a good night.